Very good. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Finance Committee meeting of May 10th, 2022 at 5:06 p.m. First item on our agenda is approval of minutes, draft minutes of the April 26, 2022 Finance meeting.
I move approval.
Motion made by Alder Wheeler. Is there discussion? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor of the approving the draft minutes of April 26, 2022 signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to item 3, public appearances, non-agenda items. Do we have anybody on Zoom? No, and we have some to speak, but they are speaking later in the evening on agenda items, so nobody for non-agenda items. Moving on, the Finance Director report is item 4, and our Director of Finance, Misty Dodge, will you speak to this item?
I do. I just have a couple of items to share with you. One is I've been talking to you about the audit report and how we were targeting to have that presentation from the auditors at the next meeting. We're actually going to delay that until the first meeting in June. We're having a delay in getting some of the information that we need, so want to delay that just by one meeting. It's still in plenty of time to meet all of our deadlines. The next 2 meetings, so tonight and then the next meeting as well, we do need to end a little bit earlier. So we probably will start a little bit earlier just to give you a heads up, with public safety needing to start earlier. It all kind of cascaded. Then we're working on CIP, trying to get through that process. You'll see that in June. And then we did get 70 radios to go with our water meters. If you remember, there's a supply chain issue. So there's a bunch of meters out there that don't have radios. We actually did get about 70 of them, which is not enough to fill that backlog, but we are strategically deploying them in certain places that either we are having a hard time getting manual reads or other things like that. So that will help fill some of that gap. We still have a couple hundred meters out there that don't have radios. So that means we are continuing to do those manual reads on those. And then treasurer's reports. I know you're probably anxious as I am. I haven't done them for 2022 yet. Things have been a little crazy this year, but I do recognize that they need to get done and will be on a future finance committee meeting. So didn't want you to think I forgot.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Misty. The next item on the agenda is item 5, review of bills. It's 5A, detailed review of checks for $10,000 and above for the period of April 16th through the 30th, 2022, totaling $969,713.41. Questions, discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to 5B, detailed review of all checks issued, checks 123402 through 123447, April 16th through the 30th, 2022, totaling $1,021,325.16. Is there discussion from the committee? Hearing none, we will move on to item 5C, detailed review of all ACH payments for $10,000 and above for the period of April 1st through the 30th, 2022, totaling $664,007.41. Discussion from the committee. Hearing none, we will move on to item 5D, detailed review of all ACH payments for the period of April 1st through the 30th, 2022, totaling $675,579.40. Discussion. Hearing none, moving on to 5E, detailed review of P-card transactions for $10,000 and above for the cycle ending April 6, 2022. Total dollars, $11,390. Discussion. Hearing none, moving on to 5F, review of P-card transactions for the cycle ending April 6, 2022, total $128,468.46. Discussion from the committee. Hearing none, that concludes the review of bills under item 5. Moving on to item 6, which is action items. I understand that we are moving an item. Do I have a motion to move that particular item.
I make a motion to move item 6E, Resolution R-76-22, to the beginning,
Very
so
good.
that our speakers can have their say.
Very good. Thank you. Do I need a second on that for this?
You don't, but we do need a approval, a
Okay.
vote.
Those in favor of moving action item 6E to the front of the list before action item 6A, signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it, motion carries. So we will move, all right, so we will open it up to the public. Resolution R-76-22, letter of support for Fitchburg Veterans Park, United States Army donation program application. And I have two citizen registration forms. The first one is from Michael Croft. Did I pronounce that correctly? And you reside at 2733 County Trunk Road, MM, Fitchburg. And you just want to register and support. Very good. And the other citizen registration form is Tom Clauder. And Tom, you wish to speak in support of. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for moving this up too as well. Just to let you know, I'm here on behalf of the Veterans Park and part of that committee, wanting the city to further understand what we're doing. I did before we put in an application for heavy equipment. We did run this by up the flagpole to the city administrator as well as the attorney, and the process we're following between Parks Commission, Finance Committee, the City Council is what we're doing. I encourage any of you who haven't been to the Veterans Park to please go up there, take a walk around. If you have a question, let me know. Let anybody know from the committee. We have a small committee. This committee's made up of about 5 people, 1 cop, and a bunch of veterans. And it's just really put Fitchburg's Veterans Park, after 45 years or whatever delay, not doing anything, we finally got it off the ground, and I'm happy to say it's running. What you have before you is an application for heavy equipment, and the heavy equipment, may it be a tank or a chopper or some other military equipment, we don't know what it is. We put in an application to the Army, and the Army would not tell us what they have. So we put in the application, and if we do get something, you'll know about it. We'll be back. I've already had calls on where we should place this item. We don't know, because we don't know what we're going to have. We don't know what we're going to get. But the idea was to put in the application, get a letter of support from the city, because they requested that. They wanted to know that we are a committee, that yes, there is Fitchburg, Wisconsin on the map, and da-da-da. We could also buy the equipment. That would be $15,000, $20,000 probably. We decided not to go that way because it was pretty expensive. We wanted to put in this application, see what we could do, and we'll take a look at it from that standpoint. We don't, I'll say that again, they're tight-lipped with what they have. We don't know what they have. And when we find out if they give us something, I can't say that loud enough. You'll all know it's not hide and seek. It's not, oh, we got it, we'll put it here. We don't work like that. So that's what this is. There are a couple of alders that have already heard this speech once and probably twice, but I got to give it one more time in reference to the city council, other members if they have a question. But that's what it is. I hope you support it. I can tell you on behalf of the city that I've been in for over 30 years, I've heard nothing but good things about what we're doing. I haven't had anybody come up to me and said that this is a pretty dumb idea. It hasn't happened. It's been all positive, which I'm happy to report to you too. So,
Very good. Thank you, Tom. And on that note, though, I thank you as well, you and the committee, for the work that you are doing. I have been out there, and it is pretty impressive what's been done. Yeah, for a very worthy cause as well. With that, oh yes, Alder Gerhardt, you want to comment? Go ahead. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. Hi, Tom. It's nice to see you, even though it's over video. Yeah, I just wanted to echo Alder Goodell's comments and just thank you so much for all your work. Really excited about what the potential for this. Do you have any sense of what the timeline will be in terms of when you hear back, or is it really just you put in the application and you just wait to hear back?
get ready and wait. We just don't know. I mean, and you can imagine how government works. The Army probably works slower. I don't know that. I don't know. So, just don't know.
Hey, Tom, we called it hurry up and wait when I was in the military.
I agree.
All right.
I agree.
Very good. Again, thank you, Tom, for all of the work that you've done, and looking forward to seeing what that piece of equipment ends up to be. Then, do I have a motion? Do you remember?
You do not yet.
Yes.
Nope.
Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-76-22, Letter of Support for Fitchburg Veterans Park United States Army Donation Program application?
So moved.
All right. Motion made by Alder Wheeler. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Randy, may I interrupt for a second?
Yes.
We do have two other speakers on another agenda item that you may be interested in moving up as well, which would be 6C.
C. All right. And, all right, very good.
I can move to, do you want to move the item up?
Sure. Would you like to make that motion up to?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to move item 6C up to now in the agenda.
And once again, we vote on it? Yes. Though the motion, those in favor of the motion before us signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it. Motion carries. We will move item 6C to the top of the action item agenda list. And we have, first one to speak on it is David Halford. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Correct.
And I have an address of 2621 Tarplaywick Drive, Fitchburg, 53711. And you wish to speak in opposition to the above matter, answer questions if needed. Go ahead. You have the floor, David. You have 3 minutes, by the way.
Thank you. I'm speaking in opposition of the option D that has been approved, specifically because they're proposing to borrow $967,215, which I think, considering that we're going to be taking on the town of Madison, is something that should not be done. Observation, the original budget on this hub project was $2,688,000. The only option proposed that was within the boundary of no debt was option C. Every other A and B both had debts incurred to fund the project. If you look at option D as being proposed, the big item that I see there that is, I would classify as a want versus a need, is the fully covered hard court. I'm glad to see that the ice rink was eliminated, but the fully covered hard court is $807,940. To put the hard court in without any cover is $75,000. If you put the difference of, that difference is $732,940. There's a 10% design cost associated with it, 10% contingency. You'd add both of those items to the $732,940 difference, and you come up with approximately 982,000, or 900, excuse me. You come up with a debt level that's of 87,000, that only requires a debt level of $87,000. So you take the debt level from 967,000 down to 87,000 by eliminating the hard court. To me, to have city taxpayers subject to a debt of 967,000 to have a fully covered hard court in this situation is something I oppose, and I would guess that a number of taxpayers would oppose it. The process of
You have 1 minute remaining.
okay. The other thing I would point out, I understand the request for all-wheels track is probably significant. I would point out that at Aldo Leopold Park, they're renovating and updating wheels track there, and that's a half a mile away from where this project is being presented. I understand there's a $225,000 grant associated with the all-wheels track, which obviously mitigates the process a little bit, but my primary opposition is to having the fully covered hard court put in place or accepted under this option because it involves borrowing $967,000.
Thank you.
That's in an environment of rising interest rates, I would point out.
Very good. Thank you, David. All right.
May I interrupt again?
Yes.
So, staff would like to have the committee consider deferring this item to council without a recommendation from finance, not because finance isn't an important component of this discussion, but more so because finance is such an important component of this conversation. And we think that all of council hearing this discussion might be beneficial. So, food for thought, if you are interested, you could take that action.
I'll make a motion to defer this decision to council without a recommendation.
Very good. Motion made by Alder Gerhart to defer to council on this particular action item. So moving forward, Misty, we will.
So you can have discussion if anybody would like to talk about it. Otherwise, we would still need a vote.
All right. Is there further discussion on the motion before us?
Sir, if you have one question, you don't have to answer, but are you retired?
Am I retired?
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. I think that's very important for people to know, people on fixed income. For people on fixed incomes, I think it's very important that when you talk about raising taxes and everything else like that, that we have to consider those who are unretired and fixed incomes. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there discussion regarding the motion before us? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor of deferring item, I'm going to jump down here now. Resolution R-45-22 to approving the North Fishhatchery Road Hub Phase Northside Traceway final design, deferring it to council, signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it, motion carries. All right, moving on to the original action item A, motion to approve ordinance 2022-0-14, an ordinance amending purchasing and public contracts ordinances, Chapter 10, Article 4, Sections 10 through 304, 10 through 307, 10 through 308, 10 through 311, 10 through 312, 10 through 313, 10 through 317, 10 through 338, 10 through 431, 10 through 432, and 10 through 439 of Fitchburg General Code of Ordinances. There's a tongue twister right there.
I move approval of everything you just said.
Yeah, everything. Motion made by Alder Wheeler. On this one, though, it has to be repeated in jest. Is there discussion? Oh, wait a minute. Yes, discussion.
May I kick it off?
Yes, you may.
Excellent. So as you could tell from the title, there are a lot of changes being proposed to the ordinances, specifically in the area of purchasing. So this came about with all of the different federal money that we either have accepted or are applying for. There's a lot of strings that are associated with federal money. So at the beginning of this year, I worked with our auditors to make sure that our purchasing ordinances were aligned with those strings and that it was very clear that we would have the policies in place to make sure we would meet the requirements of this federal funding. So looking at all of the different recommendations that are proposed for clarity to just document the different procedures that we would need to follow with the federal funding, I really see it as kind of two groups. There's a handful of items that are good practices, but really we only want to do them if there's federal funding that's requiring us to do so. That is the new section that was added. There's 17 different items in there that need to be followed and documented. And then there's some of the recommendations that really are great practices that we should do regardless of whether federal funds are involved. So those are kind of sprinkled throughout the ordinances. In the staff memo, I also talk about a couple other changes there too. I don't plan to go through this one by one unless you are interested in that, but the redlined version is included in the packet. And again, the goal was just to make sure that our policies were very clearly aligned with what that federal uniform grant guidance requires.
Very good. Thank you, Misty. Discussion from the committee. Alder Gerhardt, you have your hand raised. You have the floor.
Thank you. Just a couple of small things. Page 39 of the packet and page 4 of this section. I looked at the section 8 vendor ability to perform. I just wanted to mention that I think that that's a really great addition to our policies. I think it's good for us to be able to have some flexibility to not necessarily choose a lower bidder if we have concerns about the vendor. So I was pleased to see that as an addition. That's just a comment. And then the next page, page 40 or page 5 of the packet, I'm curious, down at the bottom, section 10.313, I'm curious about the change from women-owned business to women's business enterprises. Is that kind of a new standard of how we, it seemed like an intentional change, and I'm curious if anyone can comment about what the function of that change is.
Yep, so that came from that federal grant guidance. So there's a very long document that documents all of this, and that is a very specific phrase used in that document. So it's kind of maybe not the best practice, but the understood terminology for that. So mirroring what the federal government requires.
Got it. Thanks.
Very good. Additional questions, discussion. Alder Wheeler, go ahead. You have the floor.
Misty, and I take it we have the proper tools to manage these grants, because with grants comes work.
Absolutely. So this is a great first step to make sure that departments, when they are applying for these grants, understand what all of those requirements are, because this type of purchasing stuff is in general and is not specifically called out in the grant guidance. So I think a big piece of it is education to make sure that the departments do understand what those strings are. From a finance perspective, those 17 additional items, I need to work with our IT department to have things added to the pre-approval form that you see in the packet so that everything can be documented clearly. But ultimately, here at Fitchburg, we don't have a grants management department, so each individual department is responsible for all of that grant management on their own. We're decentralized in that area. So yes, before they apply, they better make sure that they have the capacity to follow through.
And somebody got to look at the whole picture and make sure everything's correct. Does that fall on you then?
It does, yes. Yep. So I say it is going to be a stretch in order to fit this within the other responsibilities of the department. And I hope it's a conversation we can have at budget time, but it is a requirement. If we're going to take money from the government, there is no such thing as free money from the government, and there's a lot of strings and a lot of documentation that is required.
And I thank you for bringing it up, because that's the point I wanted to make, that nothing's really free, especially when you have to manage a lot of this stuff.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did I hear suggestions as far as maybe, or at least you indicated an individual person to handle grants? I mean, that's certainly always a possibility.
So some of the cities do have a separate person that does just grant management.
Right.
I realize we're not Madison, but Madison has an entire department that does nothing but manage their grants. We're clearly not at that point, but I think it would be helpful to have one person in the finance department that is one of the main functions that they do. Probably not the only thing that they do,
Sure.
but definitely a main function of what they do.
Okay, very good. Something to seriously consider. Is there additional discussion or comments? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to the next action item. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-21-22, approving 2022 tractor purchase?
I move approval.
Motion made by Alder Gerhart. Who will speak to this item? Mr. You, or is there somebody online?
Yep, this one will be me as well.
Oh, it is, okay, very good.
So
Go ahead.
this is a purchase that was included in the budget. We did go out to bid for it. Normally, that would be where I'd stop this conversation, but there is a nuance on this one. So when we received bids, the low bidder included a form that basically put us on notice that future price increases between now and when we ultimately receive the piece of equipment would apply. So the bid price that they submitted isn't firm. Based on our conversations with the vendor, we think there will be at least 4.5% price jumps in the period of time between now and when we get the equipment, which works out to be about $9,000, probably minimum, considering the pretty significant delays we're seeing in getting equipment. So while that was maybe technically low bid at the current moment, staff is not recommending that we accept that bid. We are recommending that we accept the Sourcewell bid instead. It's actually from the same vendor, but it's just a different pricing model. So we will pay a little less than $2,000 more, but it locks in that price between now and whenever it is that we get this piece of equipment. So while it's not low bid at this moment in time, we believe very strongly that it will be low bid at the time the actual bill comes due.
Very good, thank you. Discussion from the committee. Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it, motion carries. We will move on to,
May I interrupt on this one as well?
yes, you may.
Lots of Misty today. So the next one, R7522, when we do make that motion, I would encourage you to make the motion to approve as amended by CETA, which is the redlined version that's included in the packet. But just for clarity, I want to make sure that we all understand what version it is that we're taking action on.
All right, very good, thank you. So just for clarity, if I state, do I have a motion to approve, do you want me to state just exactly what you stated?
I think whoever makes the motion needs to say that.
Okay. Motion to approve Resolution R-75-22, approving an investor station service contract between the City of Fitchburg and B-Cycle LLC for the purpose of providing a portion of the capital investment for the bike infrastructure to launch the Fitchburg B-Cycle program. Very good. Motion made by Alder Wheeler. Would you like to speak to this item as well then, Misty? Or
I would. We do have a variety of people online that are available if there's questions, including staff and representatives from the vendor. But we thought that I could at least start it and then see if you guys have questions. So included in the 2022 CETA budget was $50,000 as a capital investment in phase one of the new B-Cycle program. This is phase one, so it's kind of a pilot program. Our $50,000, or CETA's $50,000, would go towards the capital investment that's needed to kick off this pilot project. And then, as you may recall from a TAP grant conversation we had a few meetings ago, there is already talk about expanding it to phase two, but this is just focused on that pilot program. So included in your packet is the agreement that we would have with Trek to start this project using our $50,000. And then the balance would be supported through donations, community donations in particular.
very good, thank you. Questions and discussion from the committee.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Zimmerman.
Mike Z here. Just a few highlights here. The resolution authorizes the mayor to sign the agreement with B-Cycle LLC, and then it approves the $50,000 that Misty mentioned is already included in CETA's 2022 budget, which comes from our sports-related promotional expense fund, which was generated from room tax dollars. That was the source of that funding. And then B-Cycle has been successful in raising the $50,000 private sector match from private sector sponsors, businesses, the Fitchburg Chamber included there, and that will allow us to launch the program with 56 docks, with the location of those determined by B-Cycle in consultation with the Fitchburg Bike Committee, the Fitchburg Chamber, and also those private sector sponsors. One thing to note in the agreement, because the source of funding from CETA were room tax dollars, we've requested, and it's stated in the agreement, that a station be located at Hatchery Hill, where we have 2 of our hotel properties, and then also a station is located at Orchard Point, where we have 2 of our hotel properties. And then you might have noticed there's just a surrender provision that if, for whatever reason, the program was terminated prior to the 3-year term of this contract, there's a look-back provision with the CETA funding there. We're not anticipating that because, as Misty pointed out, this is the launch of the program, and we're already looking to expand the program with the TAP dollars. So we're very excited and confident that this is going to be a successful program in partnership with B-Cycle, and a welcome addition to Fitchburg's kind of biking community and biking infrastructure. So thank you for your consideration.
Very good. Thank you, Mike, for your comments. Further discussion. I see a hand raised. No, I do not. I think it was just thumbs up. Is there further discussion or further comments? Seeing none, hearing none, let's place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to the next action item, which we've already spoken to, we will move on to item 6F. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-86-22, authorizing acceptance of the 2022 chip seal, crack seal, and pavement marking bid?
So
Move
moved.
approval.
Yep.
Motion made by Alder Wheeler. And who will speak to this evening?
This will be me.
Okay.
So Public Works went through the bidding process in order to do our annual chip sealing, crack sealing, and pavement marking projects. We are recommending low bid. Did come in within budget. The one nuance on this one is that there is a special project requested by, I believe it's Hop House in particular, to restripe Sub-Zero Parkway so that there's additional parking available on the street. I don't know if you've been past there, but it's luckily a very busy place, but they could use some additional parking on the street. They have agreed to take that out of the waterfall for the TID incentive. So we incentivized Hop House and Race Day together as a project to help pay for the work they needed to do for Sub-Zero Parkway. The TID will pay for this cost up front, but then it will come out of the waterfall. So if they don't pay enough taxes to repay us back for that amount, their TID incentive for their overall project will go down. So my guess is that the TID will end up paying it and it will be fine, but there is that, I guess, insurance policy that if the taxes don't pay it off, the rest of the bond would go down. So there is a budget amendment associated with this as well because of that TID 9 component, and so it will need a 2/3 vote when the time comes.
Okay. Very good. Discussion from the committee. Hearing none, we'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to item G, 6G. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-87-22, approving an agreement for engineering services for Purcell Road resurfacing?
I move approval.
Approval made by Alder Gerhart. And I believe, Misty, you will speak to this item as well?
I will. I'd like to speak to both this one and the next one kind of at the same time, though you will have to do 2 separate motions for them. So this one is a little unique. The Department of Transportation has put out a grant program to municipalities, but they said that they want to see projects that are really easy. So nothing that's complicated, just straight up resurfacing, no controversy, no adding anything, just a straight up resurfacing. So staff went and, we'd hate to turn away free money. So we went and looked at all of the projects that are coming down the pike. And while these two roads may not be the worst roads in the city, they are the two that we think have the best chance of actually get funded with this round of the DOT grant. So it's these two roads. There will be another grant program offered through the same overlying program, probably next year, which will allow for more complicated projects. So we will likely be submitting for additional projects through that round. These are just the two easy ones. Now, why this is coming in front of you is we hope to hear end of this week whether or not we got the grant. If we get the grant, we have to do extra design services in order to meet the grant requirements. But the time that it would take between getting notice that we got the grant and then going through the purchasing process to get these two extra design things done and then still meet the really tight deadline to get the project done would have been difficult. So we are asking for permission to enter into the engineering contracts for both of these projects ahead of time, but we would only sign the contract if the grant is awarded. If the grant is not awarded, we would scrap this and not do it, but wanted to at least have the authority to move quickly in case we are awarded the grant.
Very good. Thank you, Misty. Discussion from the committee. Hearing none. Alder Gerhart, go ahead.
Thanks. I just wanted to double check. So the 54,321.53, that is the city portion, that 20% that we would pay if this went forward, or is that the full cost and we would pay 20% of that plus the design?
So that extra design cost that we have to pay for is the $54,000, and that is something that the city has to pay for 100%. There would be a separate 20% match that we have to pay, which is included in the investment plan that was approved relatively recently for the ARPA funds and or the TID closure money. That's how we would pay for that 20% if we were awarded. But the $54,000 and then the next resolution would come out of our streets resurfacing budget.
Okay, thanks.
Very good. Further discussion? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Motion carries. And now we will move on to 6H. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-88-22, approving an agreement for engineering services for Grandview Road and Roman Road resurfacing?
So moved.
Motion made by Alder Wheeler. And Misty, anything further to add?
Same thing, different roads.
Very good. Is there discussion from the committee? Anything further? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to 6I. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-93-22, updating Memorandum of Understanding between Fitchburg Fire Department and Wisconsin DNR?
I move approval.
Motion made by Alder Gerhart. And who will speak to this item? I see Chief Pulvermacher online.
Yep, exactly. Chief Pulvermacher's here.
Chief, you have the floor.
Well, thank you very much, and greetings from the National Fire Academy, where I'm taking a financial management class right now. You'll be happy to know that I'm learning lots, and I'll be in a position to talk at great levels with Misty in the future. But the resolution in front of you is one that we have with the DNR as a cooperative agreement. The DNR does not have a firefighting station in the city of Fitchburg, although they have a lot of land. So this cooperative agreement allows us to bill for our services in the event that we fight fire on their property. Basically, what it amounts to is it allows us to charge $100 an hour for a pumper, $50 an hour for an ATV, and $15 an hour per firefighter. And those are the changes that were made. Everything else remains the same with the agreement that we had before.
Very good. I will open up the discussion. Any discussion from the committee? Seeing none, we'll place the motion to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Enjoy your training.
I'll see you at council meeting.
Yeah, absolutely, we'll see you then. Very good, thank you. Moving on to item 6J. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-95-22, establishing the Catholic Multicultural Center as Aldermanic District Number 1 polling location for 2022, and this is a direct referral.
So moved.
Motion made by Alder Wheeler, and Misty, will you speak to this item as well?
I will.
All right.
So Little John's has been used as the polling location for District 1 for the last couple of elections, but they are not available to meet our needs for the other 2 elections here in 2022. So we are proposing that Catholic Multicultural Center becomes the new polling location for District 1 through this year. This is coming to finance only because there is a budget cost to it, so we would pay them $200 per election to use that space, which is consistent with what we pay for the other polling location. So it is a small budget amendment. The city clerk can absorb that within their other items within the budget, but because there is that financial component, we thought it was best to come here as well.
Very good, very good. Thank you very much. I will open the resolution up for discussion. Yes, Alder Gerhart, go ahead, you have the floor.
Thanks. I just want to clarify, sometimes it doesn't require a 2/3 vote in this case because it's moving within the clerk's budget. Is that the reason why?
Exactly. So they're taking one expense that's already authorized and shifting it to this new expense.
Very good. Further discussion? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to the last item on our list, that's 6K. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-98-22, amending the 2022 general fund budget, Parks, LTE staff? This is a direct referral.
I move approval.
Motion made by Alder Gerhart, and Misty, will you speak to this item as well?
Let's actually kick this one off to Scott Endel, the Parks Director.
Very good. There's Scott. Scott, you have the floor. Go ahead.
Very good. Thank you kindly. A shout out first off for sure to Misty and Sarah and HR and Mr. Brecklin and actually Mayor Richardson for allowing this to be a direct referral. This is an effort to try and recruit some seasonal park maintenance staff, and basically includes a raising of the hourly rate to $17, with the hopes of trying to gain some additional applicants to support our full-time staff during the summer. So with it being outside of the current budget, it does need to do a budget amendment. So that's kind of the gist of it, I guess.
So if I can add some about the budget amendment piece of it. So similar to the last one, they are shifting I guess not savings, but the new position that was authorized for 2022, that was 50% parks and 50% public works. That position remains unfilled at this point. So they're using the savings from that vacancy in order to help pay for these additional hours. The reason why it's coming to you guys, though, is that the total cost of that shift is more than the $5,000 that staff's allowed to do administratively.
Okay.
And then just for clarity, I will point out the starting rate is the $17. Returners would get the normal longevity step. And then that sign-on bonus that you guys approved a few meetings ago would also apply. So there's a lot of work that the Parks Department needs to do with the busy summer months, and the amazing parks that we have take a lot of labor. So we're really hopeful that this will help make sure we can get some good quality candidates and keep our standards up.
If I might, this isn't the only staffing that we were able to do. We did some other shifting around with, but they were all budget neutral. So we were able to get a groundskeeper for the summer during the maintenance. And then Mr. Siegel in the Recreation Department did some adjusting with staffing. We stayed within the budget, but with increases to the wage and all of that. So that's also going on behind the scenes, but it's budget neutral. So we're good from the financial standpoint.
Very good. Discussion from the committee. Yes, Alder Gerhart, go ahead.
Thanks. Scott, I just wanted to thank you for making this work within the current budget. And I think it's fantastic that we're raising these prices, these wages. I've seen actually quite a lot of nonprofits and other sort of smaller positions around the city increase their rates this year compared to years prior, up to 17, 18. So I really understand why these are difficult to hire right now, given what the market is at. And so I'm really glad that you were able to make this work.
Well,
and thank you for the note that this also was happening elsewhere, because that's good to know.
Well, in fairness, Gabriella, it really was the finance department and Sarah and Mr. Brecklin that were willing to help us to work with it. So without their support, that it wouldn't happen. So certainly credit goes all around.
Very good, thank you.
We will be filling that spot, though, for next year, correct?
Oh, we'll be filling it in the next month or so.
Month or so?
Yep, I believe we have a candidate that's hopefully working through the process. So yes, hope to get that full-time position done
For the
soon.
full time?
Yep.
Yep, we actually had two interviews again today. So we're hopeful that one of those two candidates will make it through.
Yep. But just the savings, especially in health insurance for the first 5 months of the year, is how we're able to shift to this. And it is a longer-term thing that we'll have to address with the 2023 budget. So these shifts, this one as well as the ones Scott was talking about, and there's been a couple others too, the pay is probably not going to go down for 2023, but we'll need to make sure we budget for it that way, because these one-time kind of options are difficult to sustain.
Okay, very good. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, motion carries. On to announcements. The next meeting, Finance Committee meeting, will be held May 24th, 2022. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion made by Alder Wheeler. Discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it. We are adjourned at 5:53 p.m.